Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about Stephen King's 2014 novel, Revival. We'll be showing you the points to look for when trying to identify first US and first UK editions of the book, as well as provide some thoughts on the work itself. The first US trade hardcover edition was published by Scribner. You can kind of see there on the spine. It has this really cool, eye-catching, kind of reflective, holographic artwork on the jacket. Inside the jacket, kind of hard to see, look for a price of US $30. And on the copyright page, to look for the handy dandy Scribner number line that includes the number 1. Back author flap photo is one of the better Stephen King author photos, I think. He has a mustache there and is holding a guitar, which is appropriate because Revival features a lot of rock and roll and musical content. Underneath the jacket, the book has blue boards with black covering over the spine and silver lettering. So that is the first US trade hardcover edition of Revival. I'm going to pass it over to Noah to show the first UK.
All right, and now we are going to look at the first UK trade edition of Revival. Printing line is just one, of course, as Hodder does, and yeah. Oh, let's actually look at it. It's yellow. It's bound in a yellow cloth, which is interesting because typically Hodder and Stoughton are black. So that's kind of new. But other than that, it's your typical UK trade edition. So there you have it, Revival. All right, and then this is the purple version. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I stopped buying these variants a couple books ago just because, I mean, it's a different color jacket. Like, really? Why did I feel the need to buy these things? This one also has the yellow binding, and you know, it's the same book. It's the same. It's got the same copyright page. It's exactly the same, except it has a purple jacket. So it's just it's just a variant. Yeah, I don't know why I felt I needed to have these things, but for quite some time I bought all of these. But anyway, there's the purple Revival, purple UK Revival.
And now a word about our sponsor.
Hey everybody, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Stephen King collecting community is truly that, a community. And in the community, there are certain pillars of information that serve to support the entire community, people at all different levels. And Thomas at skcollector.com is certainly one of those pillars. The website has been active since 2001 and serves as an invaluable resource for collectors at all levels, from beginners just looking for that next first edition to add to their shelves, to seasoned collectors and everyone in between. On the main page, there are regularly updated bits of news from all over, from the new books to limited books to movies, TV shows, podcasts, everything Stephen King you can find on the homepage of The Collector. Thomas links to other sites like Lilia's Library that are tremendous sources of information. To dig a little bit deeper into this community aspect, there are the forums on the SK Collector website. So here is where you can dig in a little bit more, ask specific questions, engage in conversation and back and forth with Thomas and with other collectors, as well as introducing yourself and getting a little bit more personal with your connection and your participation in the forums, if that is what you choose. So head on over to skcollector.com, really dig into the news and all of the links on the main page. They're invaluable, and go check out the forums as well. You might just be surprised. There's some really interesting people there, and there's some really interesting information to be had. So I don't have a lot of historical context or anything to share about Revival. It's 10 years old now, which is hard for me to believe because I remember when it came out and I remember reading it and I remember being surprised by it and also fascinated by it. So I have some impressions. It's high up on my list of books that I want to revisit and reread. In fact, I'll be doing that at some point over the next few months. But my impressions from first reading Revival 10 years ago was that it hardly seemed like a Stephen King novel. I mean, the writing, fantastic, classic Stephen King, but it's more emotional, more moody and dramatic, more family oriented. And then there's a scene that involves a car accident, and the details of the car accident, like people's faces getting all messed up and described in great detail, burning. I believe there's burning. Man, I need to reread this book. But that, it made me laugh. I remember that because I thought, yep, there it is. There's the Stephen King elements that we all know and love. So he's writing and he's probably thinking, man, people might forget this is a Stephen King book. And then he throws in some of those infamous gory details to remind you. Revival to me has elements of Lovecraft. It also has sort of a Frankenstein feel to it. And it goes pretty deep and it gets pretty dark. The main character, the rock star or the musician character, I really liked that. It reminded me kind of Larry Underwood from The Stand, and of course Stephen King himself is a part-time so musician, performing infamously with the Rock Bottom Remainders, a band and composed mostly of authors with some actual rock star ringer support to make them presentable to a general audience. One of the things that stuck out to me, even though I hadn't been trying to learn to play the guitar in 2014, was the description of what separates guitarists who don't make it from those who do is playing, strumming along, and then getting down into the F chord just smoothly and quickly. And that always stuck with me, and I don't know why, but since 2014 I have tried to learn the guitar, and that always comes back to me because yes, going from a pretty standard and basic chord to the F chord, I always have to pause and I always have to find my fingering, and just totally throws off the rhythm of what I'm trying to play. Really random thing to take from Revival, really random thing to still remember from it today, but there you go. So like a lot of later period Stephen King books, there's a lot of world building that goes on in Revival. And I've read reviews and it kind of drives people crazy. Like it goes so long with nothing happening. But in the best Stephen King tradition, he's world building, he's character building, he's bringing you in so effortlessly into the world of these characters that the eventual, when it gets good, is so much more heightened and so much more emotional because of all the work that he has done and that you have done as the reader in going on the journey and getting to know the characters in the first two-thirds, three-quarters of the novel. For me, I remember loving the entire thing. I was enthralled. There's some aspects that are fantastical and kind of science fiction-y, some things to do with lightning and electricity and photography that still stick in my mind to this day. It was also surprising to me because Stephen King he's kind of been back and forth on his ideas of religion. I think in general, believes in God, but feels like religion is an overall negative force. And Revival is the novel where I feel like he comes face to face with God and he does not in fact like what he sees. It goes dark in a way that kind of reminded me of Pet Sematary, in that it just kind of spirals down into horror and is all the more effective because of that. And Pet Sematary kind of telegraphs its horrors, well, not necessarily from the first page, but pretty early on. And of course, the story is now so famous and so well known that it's hard to go into it completely devoid of any idea or understanding of what's going to happen. But Revival, it just plays its cards close to the chest in terms of horror and in terms of truly disturbing content, and then it goes there, not just in a horror standpoint, but just in like a bleak sort of worldview standpoint that I really appreciated 10 years ago. And it made me think of, I don't know, like Stephen King never left. he kept publishing, and he was publishing good stuff, but Revival felt to me kind of like a return to form of like classic Stephen King, where he was really willing to go there and pull out all the stops in service of the story that he was trying to tell. So I would say that, like a lot of what Stephen King has published over the last 20 years, Revival is underrated. He keeps publishing year after year, book after book, and books just get caught up in the tide, in the sweep of the pace of his publishing, and they can get kind of pushed back and just kind of get lost in the shuffle. I think Revival amongst Stephen King fans is pretty well known and well regarded, but in general, I would say that it is probably underrated, and it's a great one. It's a great one to pick up. It's a great one to check out for folks who haven't read everything Stephen King has ever published, and they're kind of curious. Maybe they've read the big ones, the most famous ones, and they're looking for something a little off the beaten path. I would highly recommend Revival because it's pretty great. Anyway, thanks as always to Thomas, my sponsor from skcollector.com. Thank you to my compatriot Noah for showing yet another book that I do not have in my own collection. And thank you to you, the viewers, for your support of me and your support of the channel. I really appreciate it. So wherever you are, take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you later. Bye.